I thank the gentleman. Mr. Case.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Secretary, at the Shangri-La Dialogue in your speech of May 31st, you stated, and I quote, "Here in the Indo-Pacific, our futures are bound together. The prosperity and security of the Indo-Pacific are linked to those of your people."
So this exchange between Pete Hegseth and Congressman Ede Case is one of those moments that sounds technical on the surface. But the deeper you listen, the more revealing it becomes about how this administration sees the world.
You went on to talk about the benefits from the, quote, peace and stability that comes with a lasting and strong American presence here in the Indo-Pacific, end quote. Do you believe that the only way to achieve our contributions to peace and security and stability in the Indo-Pacific is through military strength alone?
Sir, certainly not through military strength alone, although military strength is the business that we're in. So we're building partnerships across mill to mill, whether it's the Philippines, Japan, Australia, more actively than any other part of the world, because the application of American strength is not America alone. It's by, with, and through partners who share mutual objectives. And so we are very invested in military-to-military relationships.
So you, as the Secretary of Defense, believe that we need to take a broader approach in the projection of national power, national influence than simply our military. Is that correct?
Well, sir, that's not my job. My job is the military application. So
yes,
others will determine the broader spectrum of that, but it's always useful to have other applications of power as well.
But how others actually do that does impact your job in running our military, right? I mean, your military operations, your military presence, your mill-to-mill relationships that I agree are important are all going to be impacted by our non-military projection of power, influence, and assistance throughout the Indo-Pacific. Is that correct?
I would just say that from my 2 recent visits to that region, meeting with many of those ministers of defense multiple times, their focus is what capabilities can we share together, interoperability and capabilities that establish deterrence, because the most important message America can still send, and they can still send, is hard power capabilities. What can we project? Where can we project it? As the chairman said, what dilemmas can we create? That's the business that we're in. And so we work with those partners that share common goals, and our militaries are working better together than they ever have, and I think that helps support security.
I appreciate your focus on the military side. That's obviously directly your job, but I'm asking you to think and comment more broadly on our big picture approach to the world. This administration, for example, has proposed to reduce the State Department by $8.3 billion, the Economic Support Fund, the Development Assistance and Democracy Fund, and the Assistance for Eurasia. This administration has illegally sought to destroy the U.S. Agency for International Development, and in its budget request, reduce it significantly down to close to zero. This administration has proposed to reduce the international narcotics control and law enforcement effort by $1.2 billion. This administration has proposed to eliminate the Millennium Challenge Corporation, or not eliminate it, but reduce it by $1 billion, a significant reduction. One of our principal agencies that assists us with meeting the needs of the Indo-Pacific in the infrastructure area, and what I think you would agree are key strategic countries such as Indonesia, such as Kiribati, such as the Philippines, such as the Solomon Islands. This administration has proposed to reduce international organization contributions by 83%. This administration is not following through on commitments that we made to the freely associated states, all of which are strategically critical to this country, to expand veteran services in those 3 countries, Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the Marshall Islands. This administration appears to be slow walking the resurgence and expansion of the Peace Corps throughout the Indo-Pacific. Do you think that that will affect your job in the military space with your relationships with those countries?
No, sir. I would add to that list the elimination of most USAID programs, which I don't hear anything about because a lot of them were wasteful and duplicitous, and I'm glad we got rid of them.
Well, I've had those conversations
as far as
with those
you mentioned
countries.
international organizations, the 83% reduction, Again, I hear nothing about that because
Have
most of
you
those
talked to those
international
countries?
organizations are not serving U.S. interests,
Mr.
and so we shouldn't
Secretary,
be
have you
funding them
talked to
if they're
those
not
countries
serving
about
U.S.
the
interests.
impact?
So I don't hear from our allies problems about that.
Well, I
because
don't think you're talking to the
those
right
were not
people.
part of their calculus
Yeah,
of American
if you
power.
talk to any one of those countries, they'll tell you that they're deeply concerned with the reduction of non-defense dollars, and it will, in fact, influence our presence and our contribution to your stated goal of peace and stability and
I think they
security
respect
in
that
the
we're
Indo-Pacific.
reducing waste on programs that aren't actually affecting
Gentleman,
change
time
on the
has
ground.
expired. Mr. Diaz-Ballard.
Thank you, and to three of you, thank you.
This wasn't really a debate about the Indo-Pacific. It was a debate about what kind of power America believes in. Is power just what you can deploy, threaten, and deter with? Or is power also what you build, support, sustain, and inspire? And once you hear Hegseth's answers in full, it becomes pretty clear where he, and this administration, land on that question. Because here's the truth that this exchange exposes, and it's something we need to talk about honestly. You cannot bomb your way to trust. You cannot deter your way to legitimacy. You cannot build lasting influence by showing up only in uniform, with hardware, ships, and threat assessments, especially in a region as complex, diverse, and historically sensitive as the Indo-Pacific. When Hegseth says allies only care about hard power, what he's really saying is that he's listening only to their defense ministries and ignoring everyone else. He's not listening to civil society. He's not listening to economic planners. He's not listening to local leaders who are weighing U.S. engagement against Chinese investment, infrastructure, and long-term presence. Because here's what those countries actually see. They see the U.S. cutting development funds while China builds ports. They see America shrinking diplomatic footprints while China opens embassies. They see military exercises paired with empty promises on healthcare, climate resilience, education, and infrastructure. And when the U.S. shows up with fewer teachers, fewer engineers, fewer aid workers, but more weapons, the message is loud and clear. We care more about using you than partnering with you. That doesn't strengthen deterrence, it undermines it. Because deterrence isn't just about firepower, it's about credibility, it's about trust. It's about whether countries believe the U.S. will still be there when the cameras are gone and the ships sail away. Congressman Case understands this. That's why he keeps insisting that non-military power affects military outcomes. Because when development collapses, instability grows. When diplomacy shrinks, misunderstandings multiply. When aid disappears, resentment fills the vacuum. And that vacuum doesn't stay empty. China is more than happy to fill it. This is the great contradiction at the heart of this administration's foreign policy. They talk endlessly about countering China, while systematically dismantling the very tools that actually compete with China's influence. You don't counter China by cutting the Peace Corps. You don't counter China by abandoning infrastructure investment. You don't counter China by telling small island nations that their economic and environmental survival is not your job. Hard power matters, but it doesn't stand on its own. Even the strongest military in the world cannot substitute for relationships. It cannot replace trust. It cannot force people to believe in your leadership. And that's what makes Hegseth's answers so alarming. Not because he's focused on the military, but because he's openly dismissive of everything else. Because he seems genuinely unconcerned that allies are warning, over and over again, that cutting civilian engagement weakens American influence. Because he believes that as long as the Pentagon is strong, the rest doesn't matter. History tells us otherwise. Empires don't decline because they lack weapons. They decline because they lose legitimacy. They decline because they stop investing in the systems that make power sustainable. And this exchange wasn't just about budgets or bureaucracies, it was about vision. A vision where America leads by presence, partnership, and shared growth. Versus a vision where America shows up only with force and expects gratitude in return. That second vision doesn't create peace. It creates dependency at best and backlash at worst. And if we're serious about stability in the Indo-Pacific, about avoiding conflict rather than sleepwalking into it, then we need leaders who understand that power is multidimensional, and that cutting diplomacy while expanding militarization isn't strength. It's strategic blindness. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, especially if you think America's global leadership should be about more than just who has the biggest stick.